Yeah, it's bizarre.
All right, man.
Not my monkey, not my circus. I love that
Yeah.
saying. I don't know where I first heard it, but definitely, Okay. So let's do this. I think we're live. I don't even know how to see if we are live.
We
Oh,
are
there it
live.
is. We're live. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. It's so good to see you. Thank you for doing
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to go over the episode 3 and 4 of What on Earth is Happening. And if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome, because this is going to be a fun ride. The the things that I thought of this week that would be relevant. First off, do you remember when reading Art of War, Sun Tzu's
Yeah.
Art of War? What's one of the quotes that he is totally attributed to?
To defeat your enemy, you must first know yourself. Or
Yes.
I guess to know your enemy, you must first know yourself.
You must first know yourself. That is key. But the other pieces also are that you have to know your enemy.
Right. And
You
in
have to
order to know your enemy,
understand
you
your
have to know
enemy.
yourself.
You have to know yourself. You have to understand your enemy. I mean, there's so many pieces of that. The Art of War should be required reading for all of us. Um, all right. And maybe even regularly now, because I think, um, where is the other piece that I saw this? Mark talks about it. I don't know if he hasn't talked about it yet on the first four, is that he talks about how the dark occultists do not take a break. They're operating 24/7,
Yeah.
right? So for us to, not that it's about taking a break, because it's really important that we each know ourselves and have a vision, right? I
Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, there's no way I even want you to approach this topic unless you knew for sure what your vision and values are, and you were to- that you are clear on who you are and what your vision is for your life is
Mm-hmm.
really important. And I think anyone going forward in doing the work of Mark Passio's body of work, and studying it, going into it to understand more of what's happening on the planet. If you don't have a good sense of yourself, this can really throw you for a loop. And what is later talked about as far as being black pilled, where you feel hopeless, that's why I think it's so important that moms and dads and families do this work together, like study it together, understand it together, and then also really build in their own vision for their life and what they want to create in the future. Otherwise, this stuff can really get hard,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and dark.
Yes.
Okay, so what would you say is your number one takeaway from? We could
There
probably
weren't
put them both
any.
together, because I think 4 is a big recap,
Yeah,
a
because
review.
like it really there weren't really any takeaways because he had more time talking with the people, and he spent a lot more time talking about his march and whatnot.
His what?
So the march
Oh,
that
the
he was
march.
going to
That's
do
right.
in Philadelphia. I wonder how that went too, if they even did that.
He did do it, and he talks about how it went. I think, and he
Okay,
talks
we'll
about
see.
it year after a few years, because they do it. There was a couple times. I think he did another event, and there's disappointment that there aren't more. But then there's those that do respond, especially on the when there's rallies. Then this is where I look at, you could, how you look at the glass half full or half empty.
Yes.
It's like, hey, if you even help one person, you freaking helped one
No, I'm not
person.
even talking about that. It's
You know?
just he was talking. He spent a lot of time talking about other things. There wasn't any.
Which
There
one,
wasn't
three
too
or
much.
four?
Both. Because they had more callers, so they had more people talk. And like the issue with everybody who's with most of the people who've been calling so far is they're just there to yap. They're not there to actually discuss anything or say anything.
Interesting. Okay. So I have a different perspective for sure. To me, these two were pretty big, because he goes into love. He goes into
Right,
this
like
concept.
the not
Like,
the reversals, but the quote unquote the polarities.
right.
Yeah.
So that's where I was first introduced to the Hermetics, through Passio. I didn't know about
Okay.
the Hermetic principles in a deep way prior to Mark Passio introducing it through this and talking about how, and that's something that I think is really another piece of the work, is that you have to take the thread and go deeper. So for you, there was no number one takeaway. It was just,
I mean, because like it's the quote, like the quotes are good. I learned, and like I thought of it like, okay, that's cool. I can observe things from this, but it wasn't really as impactful as the first, like as the first one or the second one, when he was like actually like spreading a lot more. Because it felt like the episodes kind of blurred together, like they were just very similar.
mm.
Because
Well,
he was
I
talking
think
about the
that
same
that's what he
things.
does, is he stacks on it. So let me ask you this question then. Do you think that your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, do you feel that they're um, all in alignment?
Not all the time, no.
So where do you feel that there's a contradiction, or where do you find in your life most contradiction?
Probably when I'm fencing and I start to get annoyed. Like I'll get mad because the action I'm working on, like I'm just not happy with how the action with what I'm working on.
So how is that a contradiction to your thoughts, emotions, and actions?
Because when I'm in alignment, I can understand completely, like, oh, this is why this, instead of just seeing like, this is annoying me. This is why isn't this working? This is pissing me off.
So getting pissed off, do you feel like that's a negative and that's a bad thing that takes you out of alignment with the right action?
Yes.
How
Because the way
so?
that I get pissed off is just because then it starts to get cloudy, and then I'm just doing it, and then I'm not actually trying to work on anything anymore.
So you feel like you become the effect of the emotion, anger or annoyance.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay.
That's like the idea. Because
Okay.
then it just compounds.
Okay. Okay,
Because
cool.
I never get outright angry or mad or do anything
Mm,
destructive, but
okay.
it's basically just a purely out of alignment feeling, where
Okay.
it's just not the straight line. It's just like literally off like a couple degrees, and that's just enough to like just sour the mood for me entirely.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So I think that this is very useful, because understanding anger from the perspective that I see it now after uh, working on this concept and watching how, because I think Passio comes from an energy of anger, right? He's just
Yeah.
almost
Well,
chronically
it's
angry,
not a bad
but
thing.
he's
That's why, like,
directing it. Yeah, exactly. And
right,
so
I
it
get angry,
reminds
and I
me.
can, if I can direct it, is obviously important. But the different, that's why,
Yeah.
like, when I get annoyed or pissed off, like I said, it's just slightly off, because it's not an emotion so much as it is just a feeling of. It's like I'm feeling something, which is then affecting my thoughts instead of my emotions, which I can use to like affect them a different way. Because it's easier to use emotions than it is to use like just the small feelings of something, because emotions you can channel them a lot more, because it's less mental with emotions. It's more like the whole body feeling it. But if you're just feeling annoyed, feeling mad, kicked off or whatever, that's it's harder to actually control or direct, because it also affects your brain more, because it's closer to lizard brain, right?
Okay.
Where
Now
you
I get
can't
what
actually,
you're saying.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. So when you talk about feeling, you're talking about it's an effect versus an
right,
emotion, which is a cause.
yes, which
That's
is
really
like
interesting. Okay.
a
So a
so, yeah,
feeling is more of a trigger in the brain,
yes,
reptilian brain specifically, that puts you at effect, that
yes,
pulls you out of alignment with your higher connection of
yes.
thoughts, emotions, and actions. Oh my gosh, that's an amazing distinction. That's amazing. So knowing that, What could you do? How could you shift that? What? Yeah.
I'm gonna like. It's hard because in an area where everyone's also feeling that, like that's just what compounds because the energy around you. You need like I'm gonna. It's harder to find. You have to be able to find something that can ground you and that can reset you completely.
Like
Because
what? What could you use?
music, just put music on and go think about something else. Like just go into your thoughts and just go do something else. Because if it's something that's like taking over, like if you can't control your thoughts, right? You can't control what you're thinking, then you should try. At least what works for me is just not trying to control it at all and just completely go out and
So,
then bring
so
it
to
back down.
say that you can't control your thinking is
It's not thinking. It's not that I can't control my thinking. Is that like, I mean, I can't reset in a second. I can't just reset immediately. Back to square one.
have you tried?
Yes,
How much have you practiced
every day.
to
I mean,
reset?
I get better on it. Yes, to reset completely. I can do it at tournaments. But during practice, because I'm thinking more and I'm being more analytical. When I get annoyed or
Okay.
ticked off, it's there.
So there's a couple things where we talked about this where if you just did the lesson, filmed it, and didn't go into judging, because it sounds to me like that's
Well,
what's
I would.
making you annoyed,
No,
right?
it's not
Like, I'm not
that.
doing it right. I'm not getting it right. Judging.
No, it's more so that like it's just. It's not judging myself. It's getting annoyed that something's not working, or if it's just not like good enough.
Based on what? Based on what though?
If I don't get the point, very simple. If
But
I get it
but
right,
you're in
no.
a practice, so it's not
Right,
working.
exactly. Which
So
is
the
fine.
whole point of
It's not
practice
supposed to
is
work.
to
It's supposed to feel right. If I didn't mess up at a lesson, I wouldn't take the lessons because obviously I was perfect anyway.
right, exactly. I mean, this is the whole analogy of life.
The thing, yeah, the thing is like it's the correct idea, which is at practice you're supposed to mess up, and that's right. That is what you want to do. That's what you should be doing is to actually get better by working on things you're bad at. But the issue or the things that you need to like get better at. But the issue with not the issue with that. The thing about that is you're going to get annoyed, obviously.
Okay.
It's like if you try to play something on the piano right now, right, and you mess up a single note the entire time. And they're like, okay, and then you fix that note, and then the next one is wrong, right? It's going to compound and it's going to annoy you because it's one small little thing that you can control, but it feels like you can't. Or if you start thinking like, why isn't this working, right? So you fix one note, and then it goes back to the other one being wrong. Then the next one goes wrong again, and the one after that, and it's just one note is wrong. Not all of them at once. It's just one of them.
So that almost is like going to the worldview, which I wanted to ask you because this worldview is a big part of the work that he talks about and what on earth is happening is your worldview literally shapes your reality. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I agree. It's less physically. I mean, so obviously some things can manifest physically, but I think it's more not. It's more metaphorically that if you're thinking about negatives all the time, that's mostly what you're going to see purely because your lenses are tinted down. And there's less like there's you it's like you're focusing more on whatever you're thinking about. Like if you think that everything's doom and gloom, right? If that's what you're focusing on, and I'm looking at that from a place of, oh, everything's wrong. I'm not trying to fix this. It's just everything's wrong. This is an issue that's going to obviously manifest more because you're going to see that because that's what you choose to see.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're thinking negative all the time, then you're going to see things that really don't affect you be negative. If you think that immigration is an issue, you're gonna look at anybody from a different ethnicity, and you're going to think that that's bad just purely because your worldview is thinking, oh, they're illegal or whatever, right? Or they're stealing our jobs, or oh, this is bad, 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 bad.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're just seeing a random person who doesn't actually matter to you at all and doesn't affect you and shouldn't affect you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's different because that's like that's the same thing where it's like a feeling, but it's just a stronger one. Because it's not something that you're directly necessarily making. You're letting it happen by not choosing what to focus your energy on. Like when you say, "Oh, that guy's so trashy. Look at him." That doesn't it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you at all what he does. Like right, like you don't know his story. You don't know why. You don't know what's happening. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it also doesn't matter in the first place to say that he's a trashy person, or thinking that gas prices are super expensive and like this is all just
So
bad.
that's where now this truth versus perspective versus perception, which would then be solipsism, bringing that in, that worldview of solipsism, that there is the belief that there is no
there is no truth.
But we know that we can know that there's truth, and then we can,
without knowing it, we can understand that there is truth and know that we don't know it, as long as we're as long as we are accepting that from a feeling of, I want to find the truth, I want to discover the truth,
in
that's the
every moment.
difference.
That's
Right.
the gift out of this.
That's
the
the
gift.
about, like, if I look at this, if somebody's like, oh, this is immigration's issue, well then let's see what's wrong, how can we fix this, right? Or, oh, the money's so expensive, how can we fix
If
this?
that's even
Right.
if that's
But
even
that's
in
different.
alignment with your purpose.
Exactly,
Because
but that's the difference between.
This is where we get distracted and pulled off in a million.
Right. Well, like if that's your purpose, then in that case, it's okay to be focused on all of that things, on all of those things, right? It's the difference between being negative. I like to look at these things from a place of, oh, it's all bad, and look at these quote unquote problems as, oh, how can I fix this?
Well,
it's just a very easy
not
one.
Even taking that on. I think that's
well, like if that's your purpose, like if you feel like, oh, I really want to help solve these issues because I love this, I love my country or whatever, and I want to help like make it really, really good, or I love people, I want everyone to be happy. And if that's their purpose, then it's different than just looking at all of it as an issue and then just accepting it as an issue and just saying that's an issue. It's like what he was saying, like in the 4th episode when he was talking with the guy about, there's a lot of people who say, well, unless you're not telling me exactly how to fix it. But then, like you said, right, they just want to be told what to do. They just want to be controlled. Right. Versus like, oh, this is an issue. Well, how can we work together to fix this then? Like to solve it. How can we make it better? There's a difference, right? It's a difference. That's the difference between your perception.
Right.
You're seeing the same thing. You're seeing the exact same thing, but it's just how you choose to perceive that. And it's entirely dependent on your worldview of, I want to either fix this, I want to help it, or it's just bad, I want to say it's bad, so somebody else could fix it. Or better yet, they don't fix it.
It's like these nesting boxes, right?
Right.
It's just nesting boxes. And I think one of the things, he said it a couple times, but to know and not do is to not know.
It's the same as not to know, yeah.
Yeah. How do you interpret that?
Because at that point, it is literally the same thing. It is almost literally the same thing. Because okay, if there's an issue and you don't know about it, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. If there's an issue and you choose not to do something about it, it's the exact same outcome. Like you can look at that and it's literally the exact same thing. Because even like talking about it or talking to people who could maybe solve it is doing something about it, or sharing that is still doing something about it. But if you're actually like just, oh, that's an issue, and then that's it, and that's as far as it goes, it's the exact same thing as not knowing about it at all.
Right.
Especially because if your perception about that is to not do anything, or your perception is just to be negative about it, then it's actually even worse.
Or that you can't do anything about it.
Right, that you can't do anything about it. It's like that's a choice, and you're choosing. It's basically,
or that's your worldview.
Yeah,
which is essentially is your not really truth, but that's what you're believing. So that's your perception. Mm-hmm. It is not the truth, but you're owning that. Or
it's your personal truth. Yes, it's your perception,
your belief. Yeah,
I shouldn't even say it's your belief. It's your belief.
So, are there any truths that you recognize. And I don't know, I mean, there's pieces, so specifically around the spectrum of love and fear, where he talks about how the absence of fear is not courage, it's love, actually, right? Something about that.
Right,
And
because he put those in the emotion, or in the on
well,
the
it was like
spectrum. Put those two on the side
this,
of.
that it's dark is not
It's
the absence. It's
no.
in
What
the
he said
same
was what he
spectrum.
said. It's in the same spectrum. He said it is dark is the absence of light, and light is the absence of dark. Because they're the same thing. So if you have one, that means the other's just not opposites. They're the same. They're on the same line.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like light is the opposite of dark, but to be I guess that they were opposites. But you can't think what, right? It's like you're lagging a little bit.
I'm lagging.
Oh, there we go. But it's like hot and cold, right? At the same time, you can have one, then you can have the other, because they're both a form of heat, right? You either have high heat or low heat,
Mm-hmm.
or cold if it feels the other way.
Yeah. So let's go back to, because this is a question that I take to my sits on a regular basis, not daily, but a regular basis, where are there truths that you recognize, but you haven't acted on?
I guess, I mean, it depends, because I don't know if this is, I mean, I know for a truth that is, it will feel better for everyone involved to be positive and to reinforce positivity over negativity is a truth. It's like, I guess that's not really a truth, that's just a belief. But for the most part, if there's something that I like, how can you give me an example?
So for me, when I take this in, and after looking at how I have perceived the world from what I had hoped that essentially we're all good. That was what I wanted to believe. That was my perception.
Mm-hmm.
And yet when bad things would happen, right? So I didn't want that truth. So I wouldn't fully confront bad things happening. I wouldn't even confront the things in my own past that happened. And as a result, I would bury them. And so a lot, and I understood based on my training as a therapist and training of certain pieces. So I was within that construct. And so my perception was not based on truth. It was based on those specific fixed ideas and belief systems based on the training that I had received in cognitive therapy, in spiritual work, and all of that. So everything was through that lens. It didn't make it true. It didn't make what I was doing or what had happened true or not true. It just was based on my perception that it shouldn't be all of this shoulds and all of this. So I'm getting a little convoluted here, but the when I sit through this and look at, okay, what is true? And that's the only thing that ultimately when I pray or do meditation is that I'm asking to know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
For my highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to me. Okay. And at some point, like a decade ago, when I would go in and do work, because I would work in the Akashic Records, and that was a framework, I would say those words. Let me know the truth and understand the truth based on my highest good and everyone connected to us. Well, okay, immediately that's just shifted a perception based on highest good and everyone connected to us. So what's the highest good, right? Is the highest good to eliminate someone who is continuously doing evil?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because before
Is
your idea was, oh
is
no,
it to
they're all
destroy?
good.
It's like
Yeah.
what we have family members who will say, destroy them all, just go and destroy them all, right?
Right.
To get rid of them. Is that effective?
That's coming from the mindset of which is what you see in nature, where what the like predators will target the weak or the sickly because well, not the
So
sickly,
that's
but they'll
what's
target the
happened
weak
is that now
or
we've got things are turned to
right.
we are overall sick society, right?
Right. And what do you do? Like, what do you do when a tree branch is dead, right? Or if something is contaminated or affected? You have to. What do you do to it? What do you do in nature? If
Mm-hmm.
you have a tree that is perfectly healthy except for one limb that is threatening the rest of the tree, what? There's only one option. There's only one option if you want the tree to like survive and be
So
really
there's
healthy
the key.
forever.
If you want the tree to survive,
Yeah, there you go.
there's
So
only one option.
if you don't
And
want to, then that's fine.
then
If you want it to
that
be,
goes back
oh, it's
to exactly what I am Sophia Christos said. To know and to not do is the same not knowing and not caring.
right, and
That's the thing.
that's a
Then you
good
don't care.
distinction.
Well, if you don't care, what's the point?
Right.
And that's, I think, this is what's so many are swimming in is what's the point? There is no truth.
And also like yeah, exactly. Because if you justify, oh, I'm not going to do anything about it because I just need to let it just needs to take its own course or it needs to do its own thing. That's
right.
the same thing. That's just an excuse.
It's not
That's just an
caring.
excuse
It's
of not
not
of
taking.
exactly.
Yeah.
Even though you're saying, oh, I do care about it. I'm just not going to do anything about it because it needs to take it's going to take its own path, or I can't do anything anyway. So what's the point?
So does that
That's
then
not
go
caring,
back
then,
to old worldview? And we'll even take it further. Your worldview is coming from the way you were raised, your early childhood programming, that whole thing, which
It's
now
like that's the interesting thing about that, which I think if you're programming right, as you put it, from when you were younger, as you get older, if you see it, if it continues to be that way, then it will be cemented and it'll be there for the rest of your life. If you start out with that programming and then you gradually and then it transitions into a completely different shift, you will still have you will approach this new area with what you have from the past. However, you will still be able to change and your worldview will be like it'll be a lot wider. It'll be more broad, it'll be like more in the size, but it'll be wider.
well, so that's education. That's the ability to
Right.
communicate and do that, as opposed to, well, clearly the CIA, the all those the groups specifically that want to do the mind control and control the thoughts of and control the actions, etc., of the population, is that they are knowing that humans, I don't even like to use humans, that mankind, that we are highly programmable. Well, there's a part of us, but if we're
Right.
tapped into our spirit, if we are tapped in and aligned spiritually, and we understand that we're not our thoughts, we have them, and we can choose which ones we take action on. Because right now we're bombarded with millions of thoughts, millions of concepts every single day. If we do not practice being vigilant, really being able to decipher and go, okay, yeah, that's a thought, that's a thought, that's a thought, but that's not a thought I'm going to act on, right? It's like, okay, well, I can look around here and say, oh, there's tons of thoughts, but the ability to choose what you're going to act on and what you're going to care about, I think, is the work, right?
Yes.
And that's where you have to take things off autopilot, where I didn't have that. Most of my life has been on autopilot, except for the most part, not with the two of you, my sons, because I somehow was able to wake up and be a really vigilant,
Yeah, and you definitely
guard,
succeeded at that for
kind
sure.
of
Because
like
everything,
I was vigilantly protective in that.
not
I
yeah, it wasn't
wanted,
protective of us entirely. It was protective of our thoughts and our minds. That
yeah,
was
and so
important. That
that
was
you
the
could think
important
for
part,
yourself, so that you could,
right?
so
So
your
we
spirit could
that
come
way,
through.
at least with me, like there's no specific set, like there's no programming from when I was younger that I
Well,
run every
there
day.
is, unfortunately.
Okay, well, there's
I'm
some. I
thank you
mean,
for
yeah.
saying that, but we're all
But
programmed.
I mean, like comparatively, I don't wake up every day and then immediately go on my phone and then just like I don't. I have my own routine that I was able to make myself that best helps me. I'm not like running patterns
Well, you can
entirely.
recognize. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
I'm
that's the
recognizing.
key. That's, I think,
I'm recognizing and I'm conscious of what I'm doing every time. I make a conscious choice if I go on my computer, if I play the
so.
piano.
To
It's not like I'm
me,
just
that's the
repeating the pattern.
goal for everyone. We
Right.
need to help everyone find that that's the case, that they can do that, and the body of work of What on Earth is Happening. I don't know of any other body of work, and I study multiple. You know the bodies of work I've studied, but this one specifically right now. And is this the end all be all? I don't know. Uh, I'm personally in the 90s now of the podcast. Much of it's repetition, but I need to hear the repetition and be reminded of certain
Yeah.
things. But the fundamental pieces go back to that, the things that we'll learn and discover as he goes through, because he talks about the multiple pieces of worldview and how it goes on. So it'll be interesting as you go forward and listen to the rest of them. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and that is that there's that fear is actually not real. It's just the absence of love. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
I like that a lot. Actually, I do agree with that because love means a lot of different things, right? There's a lot of different types of love, and then and above that or below that, like at the baseline, is just the emotion of love and caring and connection, right? Because you can't really love anything without being connected to it. Like without having a clear connection, right? You can't love your pets without actually being connected to them. You can't love yourself without having a connection to yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be
And
physical. It could be a mental, spiritual,
yeah,
emotional.
it can be
Yeah.
anything. And that's the issue, is because if you don't have that, you don't have that connection, right? If you look at it from a line, right? You're connected here, right? Straight line. If you don't have that, you're basically, there's just like a pit and there's nothing there. There's like an emptiness. And then that's where the fear comes in, because it's the fear of the unknown. Like there's nothing there. There's nothing there. You're not emotionless, but there's not really any, like, because you're scared because there's no feeling, like you're not necessarily happy or sad or anything. There's kind of like a blank path, or there's
Do
like
you look at the
darkness.
slides that he presents? He has the
I haven't
slides.
seen the slides
Oh
on
my gosh.
Discord.
Okay, so
I just see the podcast the whole time.
make sure you look at it through on the channel of What on Earth is Happening. Every episode he presents slides. And on can't remember if it was 3 or 4, but he talks about, and I think these slides are actually part of his
Here, okay,
demonstrations. Okay, so he shows this graph of the internal and the external pieces, where there's love and the absence of love. So you have fear is essentially what happens internally, is that there's an internal confusion. And then externally, it's control and slavery, which
yeah,
it's, I mean, to get that visual, we think, holy smoke, everything that we have been living. And when fear, we're flooded with these pictures and images of fear. So what happens? And then on episode 2, he was going into the mind, and how fear, you're going to subconscious, the reptilian brain. But what happens internally is confusion, right? Because there's a disconnect. So like what you were saying with regards to being on the strip, and you're fencing and you're out of alignment,
Right.
there's essentially, if we look at a graph, that monitor thing is somewhere along the line of fear, right? Or, less love and more towards the direction of fear, which is confusion, right? So
Yeah.
of course you're not going to be able to decipher, is this, how can I make
How can I make it better? How can I do it better?
right,
Yeah.
how can
I
I
improve this?
right.
Because I'm not thinking about that. I'm not able to think about that because my mind's occupied by the thoughts and the feelings of, yeah, as you put it, the fear.
So I'm wondering what you could actually do. I know coming
That's what I
back
meant,
into,
like going back, breathing.
and come
That's
back
like,
into the present moment and know that there is a truth, especially when you're working with a precision art like fencing.
right. Yeah.
And
It's just the
what you care
smallest.
about most is getting the point, making the touch, making the contact, and making the correct contact. So now we can use that as the analogy of anything. Like with me as a business owner, with me as a mom, with my 3 priorities, right? That's anytime I'm moving more towards fear, I do get confused. And it's almost on a daily basis where we can navigate this. So I think having this understanding that, wow, it's like, okay, fear and confusion go hand in hand. It's like, okay, what am I not looking at? What am I not caring enough about to really see the truth in this? I think that's kind of the practice that I have been distilling for myself since going through Passio's work starting in August. Do you notice a difference in me since last year when you when you actually moved out?
Oh yeah, when we
When you
moved
moved
out,
to
absolutely.
Houston?
Even when we saw you guys with the van, when you showed up, it was way different.
Different.
Because you
Yeah.
actually took the step. You actually took the step because you'd always been talking about, like, tiny house or buying like a van, living in that, but you weren't able to because you were still stuck in because you still had, because obviously you couldn't
Confusion.
do with me.
I was
Right,
in fear and confusion. Yeah.
And then with Dax, I think it helped a lot more because it helped give you clarity because then you could actually see you could focus on yourself and what was reflected by Dax.
And then I was able to make a movement towards what I cared about and keep moving
And
those
you
in
actually made
alignment.
the choice, like, oh,
Yeah.
you don't need to stay in Washington anymore. There's nothing for you here.
Yeah.
So you were able to take the actual.
I think that's
Yeah.
super valuable because we can, that concept right there of love and fear, and fear externalized is slavery, is mind control, and then internalized, it's confusion. Once you know that, to me, I don't look forward to the confusion and the fear, but because I know and understand it now,
It's not, you're not afraid of it.
I look at, like, okay, what can I care more deeply about? It's like even doing these lives, or doing any of this, and just having this conversation and talking about this type of work. I am Sophia. Christos in the chat says fear leads to confusion and confusion leads to amnesia, right? Forgetting yourself and forgetting your connection to higher self. That right there is, to me, we can reverse engineer the exact condition of every person on this planet right there. That is and then it goes right back to the Force, right? Darth Vader's the concepts on that, and I love that. I think that excites me, makes me happy, because I loved acting so much, and that's what I wanted to do, is be a performer and do theater and acting, because I like Shakespeare or whatever. But having movies be able to communicate that concept in a way that folks can understand, is it makes me inspired that that's how we can touch more, and that there's work that, if people can wake up, right? I think more people continue to wake up when they see concepts like this. But you have to distill it, right? You have to have the discussion. Do you have to have the discussion? Yes, you absolutely do. I
You need to be able
needed
to
to
explain
have the
it.
discussions with Will Keller. And so when I first started on this journey, and I got, again, like I told you, I got to 17, I got into the 20s, and I went into the energy of being dark pilled. I felt hopeless. I felt like, what's the point? It was painful. It was painful. Now, because I am a mom and I have a business owner, it's like, I can't stay in that. I can't stay in that nonsense. That's ridiculous. Right. So
Yeah.
there was a part of me that was like, so then I started seeking out some pieces, and I found Will Keller's work where he's talking about the initiation of, you're going to have to, there is going to be a death of, there's going to be a death of the, that part of you, right? There's going to be a death, and that's just part of it. So I did have a part of,
A death or rebirth, right?
yes, exactly. So the hero's journey, that whole piece. And what I discovered is that, like, I'm just such a different person than I was even last, I'm such a different
Yeah, of course. No, it's definitely and that's a good thing too. Like in my opinion, I come from the idea that if you're the same person that you were when you were born, or if you were the same person that you were when you were like a kid, then
Yeah.
there's no reason to there's no real reason for existence or for life, because you're the
point.
same. It's just, you're just a husk at that point. If there's no growth, if there's no understanding, if there's no change,
Yeah.
like you think about a flower, right? If it's the same thing that it was before it has any petals, before it can give pollen, it just dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it can't
and
produce, if
I
it can't
really,
change and then shed, yeah.
we've talked about this with regards to, there's so many NPCs, but imagine, it's the utopian piece. It's like we've and the collective aggregate have made the slaves. We've allowed it, we've made it, we've contributed to it, and as a result, now we've got this. But I want to imagine on the other end of it, imagine then if every single being, every single individual is like a petal, and they realize and they can fully achieve their potential. They can fully express and blossom. What would that, I just getting that right now. And that's coming from a place of love and care. Now I can see where it's gotten the inversion because of the fear.
Yeah.
Because of the fear of these controllers. They are in total fear. And he talks about that. But when you really get that, and you're like, oh my gosh, you almost have compassion and go, oh my gosh, you're just in fear. You're just afraid, and you're trying to control. And I don't want to be completely like thiety weedy, as they call it, or namby pamby. What's the Pollyanna? But that's the thing. It's like, Or so can I have compassion for Klaus Schwab? The poor guy, he's a puppet. He is under mind control. He is under slavery. He can't even, he's just a talk. Same with Trump. Same with, they're just.
There are people you can definitely have compassion for and understanding, but there are also people who like, well, you know what? You made the choice. Because like, what's a dictator? Who's a dictator who was, in the eyes, just unequivocally evil?
Hitler.
Okay, well, if we're looking at like what he did specifically for the country of Germany, right? Like what he wanted to do, right? The economy was better, the cars, all the family, the strength on that. Okay, there's no compassion there. I don't really have compassion. Because like he went from, or at least what history has said, that's just purely, he's just purely bad. Or I guess a good example would be like the scientists, I guess not even real scientists, just the experimenters in Unit like 129 or whatever it was in Japan during World War II, where they would just like actively take the war prisoners. They would take not even just the POWs, but like the citizens who they would invade from China. And like, I don't have compassion for them at all. Like, there's no way, because they're not puppets either. They're choosing to do that. They're choosing to experiment on these people because they get a sick, twisted enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
especially like Imperial Japan was really not a good place. Like, it's a horrible place. The history is disgusting with the geishas, with the concubines, right? With the samurais, with they're not honorable people. They're bad people because they're always looking for a way to control. And that unless you're born into this wealth, or unless you have this wealth, then you're nothing but like you're nothing. Your sole purpose is to, serve me, and that I am actually better than you as a human being. And like you could die instantly, and just that is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's talking about like there's this temple that had corpses put under it of the servants when they would misbehave, like when they would do anything bad, and their bodies would just go under the temple, and like they would just disappear. And then what that makes, and then you can have compassion for the people under them, but it would talk about how servants would have battles with each other to try to get the others killed, so there was more for them. I have compassion for them because they're from like 6-7 years old, they're bought from their families, literally, like actual, like that's the same. It's basically it is slavery. It's just a different form of it than like what we saw with the African Americans when they were bought from, when they were sold from other tribes. But there's no real compassion. I obviously don't. I can't just think, oh, I hate you and I think you should die for that. But I'm not going to have compassion either. I'm just not going to put energy towards those people. Besides the fact that, accepting the fact that, you know what, I don't want to be like them. I don't think people should be like them. And that's different because like you can have compassion, because if you use that, like, okay, so Klaus Schwab, you have compassion. That's different. That's you can have compassion for that person, but you can't have compassion for a group of people like that, because then all of a sudden they're all just they're just all making things worse because they can all just bounce off of each other. They can and it gets worse and worse.
It reminds me of, oh my gosh, do you remember the movie was Hacksaw Ridge? What was his name? Dennis.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I can't remember his name. That was a really cool. I never watched that movie, but that was a very cool story.
He's a perfect example. Conscientious objector. Talk about very, definitely very angry at Japan for what they did, and Pearl Harbor, and he lost friends. And so, what was his name? Oh my gosh. He's a perfect example of someone who was in such meticulous alignment.
Like he would even save the enemy troops. He would just say, because he was just saving lives, and that's something that's different, right? Like the soldiers. Actually, that's a good one. I like that. Actually, the soldiers of armies of that, right? You can't get mad. You can't hate them just because their country sends them to die or sends them to go fight.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously there are soldiers who would be bad. There are obviously people who like use that as a power trip, and who will murder, steal, loot, whatever. But they're still they're still people, right? They're still the same. Yeah. They're still fighting for their side.
Yeah.
Even if it's been
so let's just look at, his name was Desmond Doss, and
Desmond Doss.
His conviction was so strong that he was such in alignment mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. His actions were in alignment with his beliefs, his thoughts, everything, that as a result, the world shifted for him, and divine providence, miracles happened because of that incredible care and alignment that he had. When you listen to the interviews, Mel Gibson does an interview on the DVD. I remember seeing the discussion where Mel said he could not even put some of the true miracles, the actual things that really happened, because no one would believe it in a movie. It would be too unrealistic. Because, like, for example, he was in the line of fire by the enemy, and every time he was in their sights, the gun would jam.
Yeah.
And it's just like, do we have anyone else on this planet who is in such alignment, in genuine care and goodness? I don't know. Do we have them in alignment with their negativity? This is what Passio says. is that the dark force, they're so in alignment with their thoughts, their actions, what they care about, that they're doing the dark work. They're doing evil because
Yeah.
that's what they care about so much. The pedophilia, the insane things that they're trying to do. They care so much about that
Right.
that's what they're going for. But I think that is a very low level, low game.
Yeah.
Low,
It's low tone, sure.
yeah, it's
Low
a
tone, like
low
the low
level
energy. Yeah. Low
piece.
frequency.
And I think that those that are in that low, punishing bodies, worshiping bodies, killing bodies, all of that low piece, that they're creating that on this plane. I don't think that it has to be that way, right? I
Right.
go out and I can see planting something and feeding my hummingbirds, or and I can see their delight and joy, even though they're playing and they may be fighting and one dive bombs the other when they're. I mean, there's not harm that's happening.
Right. Yes.
Um, oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a couple of other questions before we go, but
Yeah, I saw a couple of the things that you actually wanted to bring up, which was interesting. So one of the earlier ones from Sophia Christos, right? Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to the dark side, right? To the dark side of the force of
Star Wars,
Star And she says, Mark is full of anger and hate, so he's stuck in the dark side. Can you work for the light then? I like that because that's an interesting thing, and I definitely see that because he is a very belligerent person, very headstrong person. I'm not somebody who I would want to have a conversation with because he doesn't dominate the conversation, but
Does
he's
he
like very
remind you of your younger brother?
yes.
That's
Because he's not a bad person. He's not a bad person at all. But he's
no.
just so like I wouldn't put time on there because like he would rather he not
His
hear himself
energy is
talk, but his
at
energy
that.
is so
He's very
and I just
angry.
can't have I just don't like having conversation with people like that because it's like, well, I don't feel like I'm actually getting productive from it. I don't feel like I'm actually because it's like you're so emotional in this. I don't know if you're even going to actually like think about this after. But but because of that, that also means that he can have amazing discussions and he's able to speak extremely well because he can use that, he can channel it there when he's speaking to people for people who are listening. Not obviously, like he says, like he doesn't want to be a leader, but he is able to speak to and get people inspired, which is very good. But as a conversationist, I wouldn't personally want to because I just don't like talking to people.
And see, it's juxtaposed to your younger brother, who's like, I can't wait to meet him. He's the kind of mentor I want to have.
Because there's people who you actually can converse with that. But the question was like, is he if he's stuck like he is? It's different because you can't really say black and white like because in Star Wars, right, it was purely black and white, the dark side and the light side. You had Anakin who went to the dark side and then was redeemed and saved the light side at the end. But during that time, like he had to actually went into the dark side, which is purely evil. And that's the thing which I think we were talking about. It's hard to say there is pure evil, but there's also different layers of that. There's also those who have been manipulated. There's those who've been manipulated by the pure evil, who are acting evil. Those are the people who you can't have compassion for, who could be saved. There are people who use the dark side to,
and I think that's why he's trying to do this. Is he wants to find out the information,
right?
But I don't know him personally.
I'll say this way. He's not like since he says he's not trying to be a leader, right? He's not trying to lead or tell people what to do. He's just trying to share he wants to inspire people to find the truth for themselves. He's trying to inspire the next generation of people, like the people who could be the leaders, who are more, I guess, in tune with the light side or the good side. But he's not saying like, oh, I'm going to be the Messiah, right? He's not saying that. He's trying to get everybody. He's trying to get like
each has to be their own.
Each has to be their
they
own. They
have to find their own within themselves and tap into that.
And that's why I think he is able to lead, even though if he's like more of that coming from the energy of anger and hate, like, oh, this is awful, disgust. These people are bad, purely. Because he's not trying to use that to dominate the people he's talking to. If he was trying to like, oh, I'm the leader, you need to listen to me so I can help you like do this. That's sort of an idea where he's not really somebody you should listen to. But he's at least said so far.
What I feel is I don't respond to his anger or hate in a reactionary work.
Right.
I look at
Right.
it as like this.
He's
It's
getting
such
because
a
he
gift.
actually believes
His
in that.
work
He
is such
believes
a
in
gift
that.
because I feel
Right.
his light. I
Yeah,
feel
he's
his care.
actually passionate about what he's doing.
I feel his love. I
Yeah.
feel the depth of care that he has and the work that he's put into it. And I care so deeply about what he's allowed me to see as a result of waking up further and having more of an understanding that, to me, to answer your question, can you work for the light then? He is working. He is doing the work. He is doing the work for the light and in the light, in my viewpoint. That's what he's doing. So that's that's to me, he's walking the talk. That it lands on some, like, does he land on you as angry and and distasteful?
Not distasteful. There's definitely been some moments where he's put a little bit of anger or passion in it. Like he's put heat in
Heat,
his
like that.
conversations.
Yeah.
But he's not like, I don't see him as I don't think he's ever like actually getting, I mean, he said in his own words that he hates, but I don't see him actually like do anything that's destructive.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
said, I do actually hate the people who are controlling. Like that's like he just doesn't like he genuinely has disdain for them, but he doesn't actually do anything. He hasn't done anything that's been
Which
destructive.
to me is like, yeah, that would make sense. But when you put a lot of energy towards that and you focus on that,
Or
you
the
tend to
destructive
get that
energy,
back.
or
I mean,
right.
that's just, if you go back to the Hermetic principles, which I know he knows and he's a master, he really works on that. Well, you get the frequency that you keep putting out. So there's a lot of work. I think there's so many depths of layers. And this is what's so exciting, is that this is the work. This is the delicious work. And now I finally get it. This is the great work. This is the one great work that you get to do and only you can do. No one else can do it for you. There can be lots who lead the way and support you, but there's going to be a lot who ignore. Like, I'm not, so Keith Vaughn, I don't know who you are, but hating someone, giving them too much power over your neurology, never allow them to bend your frame, not even you.
That's a good point. I like that as well. And something that Sophia just says, well, is perhaps Mark perhaps a light side Jedi because his extreme hate is actually strong righteous indignation, which is strong love. I like that because I was thinking, using the Star Wars example, Anakin was pushed to the dark side. He was manipulated to the dark side because the quote unquote light side, the Jedi Order, wasn't actually in tune with that because they were hypocrites. They were looking for their own control. They were looking for control for themselves because they thought and I mean, okay, obviously, it's fiction, whatever. But looking at like the Jedi's, right? The way that they indoctrinated, they would take kids who had force abilities from like 3 years old, and then they would just basically kidnap them, and they would have no exactly. So it's like and that's an example. Like they're not actually the light side. The light side of the force is pure bliss, goodness above all of that. Yes. And you have people who can be in tune with that. Right?
Then you've got this duality, and I think that that's where he'll talk about this. I don't think he's gotten into it yet, of religion.
Right. And it's religion versus actually before like the beliefs of the religion, what the religion is trying. Like originally, I'm sure a lot of religions were very, this is goodness. We want to be good and helping. And then as we go,
I don't know.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Obviously, maybe. But that's the idea that
we can look at the whole Roman, the Catholic, the Church, all of that. Sure. I mean, talk about it. We don't know the original source. We don't know the original. I was just looking at this whole body of knowledge on the countless books, 80,000 books that were burned and destroyed, that were
so many books have been burned.
So we have no idea. We're in such a box, a small little box. But that used to make me despair. That used to make me feel
sad because that means the truth is never going to get out.
But now I feel like I've tapped into it, and I will tell you what it is. It's my own practice. And I think that this is the fundamental practice, is that you must individually go into the silence, go into your, tap into it's the old adage, it's what genuine prayer is. It's bringing heaven and earth and heaven together. It's the alignment. It's all these analogies. And when I do that, it's very different. Like this whole week, last week, I did a fast, and I woke up and I did my meditation, and I wrote down notes specifically about us, about this and what we talk about. And I saw the art, Sun Tzu's Art of War, and I saw that concept, and then I saw a castle that was completely dusty, that had rooms built on and built on and built on and built on it, and us going through the castle, opening and turning on the light and taking the layers, centuries, thousands of years of layers of dust off through these discussions, through this awakening. And to me, the work that Passio has done has been to basically put light to that corridor that's been dark, that we don't want to go down, that opens up a whole new universe and a world for us to expand into. And to me, I'm incredibly grateful. My younger son, I don't want to say his name, but he doesn't like it. But okay, that takes that because he's going down his own path, right? He loves that, but I can see his own path, and I feel like if he has these tools, and I will use them as tools, this knowledge and these tools to do his path, then I will trust that and support that. For you have a different one. You are a visionary. You're a higher visionary, and you see the good, and you hold to that. But I also want you to understand these pieces, the dark side that Passio brings up, in a way that I couldn't express or even look at for myself for most of my life, because it was so painful, because of my own trauma, because of my own fear and confusion. I would rather you see that now, while you also are able to stay so tapped into your higher vision. Because to me, you, rhetorically speaking as well, you, the writers, the Renaissance, those that are here to make a positive difference. In 20 years, you will be the next leader. You and all the other, the folks that are youth now, teens now, and they're being indoctrinated just as heavily in nonsense and in sickness. But I think there are some waking up and realizing. That's why I think this work is important. That's why I think you and I having this discussion is important. That's why I felt that this was an important piece. So let me just look at, really the biggest one was to know and to not act, is to not care. That's what I felt. And there's this whole piece around sovereign. I don't even want to go into it because there's so much.
That's been wrapped up in they've kind of become extremists in a sense, where they've kind of pushed.
But I love what he talks about. It's essentially you being the king or queen of your own soul, mind, body, actions, and you being in alignment. So just continuing to simplify this so that we can take action, because that's the most important thing. What are we going to take action on? So what's your number one takeaway for that you can actually take action on this week?
I'm going to make sure that, well, I'll say for next week, I guess. I guess next week's camp. But I remember I first would see this when I would see coaches, who are more focused, like, hey, stop doing this, right? You're bad at this, stop doing that. Or you're acting bad at it, stop doing that. Versus, can you do this? Like, in the way of being more positive and inspiring and positively affirming versus negatively criticizing. I'm going to really make sure, because I really don't, but I want to make sure that I continue to be more of the positive influence and more of an affirmer. Like, hey, could you do
You
this
mean
better?
you as
Thank
a
you. Oh, you're
coach?
doing great. Me as a coach, yes.
Okay.
Because that's the easiest way for me to set, because I see the difference in the kids.
Yeah,
When they
for
have
sure.
when they have that, like, you can still be constructive and you can still be criticism, like you can
It's
still
the
criticize
sandwich
certain things
method
with more, yes.
from
Because
Toastmasters, remember?
there's a lot of coaches who are very,
Yeah.
just bad until you get good.
Right. Right. And that is so destructive.
Right.
So destructive. Okay, that's good. Nice. So you're going to care. Okay, so you're working the camp, this one?
No. This is the international camp that I get a.
Oh, okay, cool.
I just mean, like, because I'll work after. I'll work
Yeah.
after with them,
Nice.
with the younger kids and the new students.
So what about you though? And
For me,
how to align
I'm
that?
not going, since there's going to be so many different people, I'm not going to take anything personally. I'm only going to control myself. I'm going to make sure, I want to make every single action that I do this week, which is going to be thousands, because I'm going to fence a bunch of different people, that I am in control each time, and that each touch is something I'm happy with. And just be present for each single one. It's going to be very hard, but yeah. You're going to make each one perfect.
That's a
I'm
great
going to be
practice.
proud of each touch.
That's the practice. That's the practice.
Yeah.
I was pulling out books for you that I wanted to make sure I give to you, the Bruce Lee books.
Yeah, I like those books. Those are great.
You know how he talks about, it's the man, I fear the man that has the
10,000. You fear the man not that has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but has practiced one kick 10,000 times.
10,000 times. Yeah. So that's, that's just touch. Exciting.
Yeah.
Let's just catch up on the comments and then we'll say, we'll catch
Mark
up.
being a light and dark side Jedi because he uses both sides necessary to get the job done. I like that a lot. That's a really good way of putting it. There's more like comics and books talking about Luke after he blew up the second Death Star, after he brought Darth Vader to Endor, or like after that, like what he did after the original trilogy, and it goes in, like, it shows a lot more journey, because like less screenwriters, more actual writers took the character and like put more emphasis on him being able to, since he has the understanding now of nothing is just one or the other, right? Because Darth Vader, we see his perspective go from pure evil. We see him like thinking, oh, Darth Vader, he sent the stormtroopers to kill people I love, right? To, he cut off my hand, he killed my mentor, all this stuff, right? He kidnapped his friends and all of this. And then the complete 180 of him realizing, like, the shock, the confusion about, like, oh, Darth Vader's my father, like this man who this robot, this thing, this evil force, who is complete, just obviously, hate, destructive, this bad, like this whole, the whole introduction of Darth Vader being this, not even a man, just a shadow, just a demon, basically. And then him saying, oh, this is my father, this is the hero of the Clone Wars. And then him able to actually bring him back to the light side, like that whole idea.
Yeah.
Of like
so
even though
that reminds me of two things I want to say on this, because there is a piece in Scientology that the code is 88008. So if you look at 8 is the symbol of infinity, dash 88008, and it talks about how infinity, which is the universe goes into the material, it goes in and it does its thing and it morphs, right? And it learns and understands and expands as a result, and then it comes back out bigger infinitely. That's the one thing that I remember my dad talking about early on, where fundamentally that is a principle that goes, that is universal. This concept of us going into ourselves, the dark side, and being able to fully confront and be there and assimilate it it reminds me of Joseph Campbell's thing. When you eat the dragon, you get the power of the dragon. If you can, you battle the dragon. And then there was another one that I wanted to say about this, and Passio brings this up, but it's the analogy. I think the Father, Darth Vader, being the analogy of the Father, it's the Trinity again, right? So essentially, what's the Father? Is the Father? It's the thought, or because the Son is the expression, the action, but the Father is the thought, the original thought. So ultimately, it's the original thought that we have to go in and assimilate and come out stronger. Like we have to, with the care.
Accept it. You
And
have
so
to accept it, right? You have to.
Yes,
By accept, I mean like fully.
Not acceptance, like like victim acceptance.
No.
Like,
I mean acceptance as in like this is
take
okay.
it all in order to explode.
Like you're not pushing
Matrix
anything away.
talked about it. Matrix did it perfectly in the one where they did it perfectly. The analogy was perfect where Neo lets the what's the good Smith go into him. And totally take him in, so that then Neo can explode and bring everything back to. Yeah, so interesting. This is so interesting. This is the work. And one of the things, I am Sophia Christos. I believe you are on the One Great Network. And I wanted to mention that because I believe that's why Mark originated the One Great Work Network, because that body of work allows for all the different archetypes to be expressed. And Passio is just an archetype of, just like Leslie Powers is an example. She's the goddess, right? She's this goddess archetype. Will Keller is the kind of the guide archetype in a different way. There's different types of folks that are, and so that's why I think that he's put that whole body of work of the One Great Network. And then ultimately, each of us individually have to do the one great work.
Yes. Using this, I forgot to. I'll mention this because I guess using the Star Wars analogy, the Emperor was the devil, pure evil, pure hate, domination over everything, manipulation more than anything, the great manipulator, right? I think you could use, maybe not Yoda. Yoda was more the mentor. I think Obi-Wan, after he became the Force Ghost, was the Heavenly Father example, where he was there for Luke when he needed him. He was there to give him guidance, pure just guidance and help. And then Vader is just the father of Luke, right? The character. And he has both. We see him go from a pseudo devil to a pseudo Heavenly Father, where he becomes the Force Ghost in the end, where he truly becomes the Jedi again that he was.
Yeah.
So he kind of has, Vader has like this whole journey start to finish that we see from the original trilogy.
One of the other things that Passio talks about a lot is that to know yourself is to know the universe, and that essentially as within, so without, as without, so within. That's what's so exciting. And you even look at that as you were describing the Vader and Yoda and all of those. It's almost like that we have projected these characters to be able to see and to have fun and to have an adventure. I mean, that's the state I'm in right now. I'm in the state of creating and learning, as opposed to like contracted state.
Right.
Which every day we go into expansion, contraction. Just before we were on the call, I was in a contractive state because of what had just happened. Yeah. But now I'm more expansive as we talk about this, and I mean, it's kind of exciting.
It is.
Right?
It's very fun.
I just want to set this intention that everyone who is ready and willing can have this. It's not going to be easy. It is not it's not easy, but oh my gosh, it's so rewarding, and so much more rewarding than scrolling on your phone, and so much more rewarding than a video game. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
because you get to come out of this and to create what you want, and then to be able to go. It's like for you to be able to know that you get to go on the strip and do the fencing and the training that is your aligned calling, and that you're so full into that. And then you have things. I mean, to me, if every single individual was tapped into their true source calling and expressing that, and then all of us that are here to support as moms and dads and governing bodies, and anyone that is in the the governing body type of thing, was only here to ensure that every individual was living their fullest potential and activating their fullest potential fully. I mean, holy smoke, that would be just like the greatest. I want to work towards that. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's what, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's good. No, that's good. It's good. Inspiring.
I will talk to Mark soon as I'm Oh, cool. You're taking the shadow work seminar. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you. Are we going to be in 2 weeks? Do you think you'll have time sometime next week to do 5 or 6?
Next, I mean, maybe if it's very short.
If you have time. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'll let you know. Yeah.